Hi everybody. My name is Baxter Jackson. I'm a teacher at United Arab Emirates University. I've been there for 8 years, and I am very familiar with Snapchat, as I'm sure most of you guys are. Yeah. As a teacher, it has been the bane of my existence a long time ago. I don't know if y'all can remember when we used to have face-to-face teaching. And I was in a constant battle trying to get my students to pay attention to the lesson, but they were busy on their phones playing on Snapchat. So I had a hate relationship with this app for a long time. But then I decided that, okay, if you can't beat them, why not join them? So I started to do a little bit of research on how I could use this application to help my students learn English. How could I do that? So I ran across an idea by an educator named Tara Martin, and it was a pretty interesting idea because I think that what it did is it got to the heart of what was missing from most of my reading lessons, and that was reflection. You know, no matter how hard I tried to get my students to reflect on what they were reading or to connect to what they were reading, they would just give like these 1 or 2 word answers, even when I wrote really engaging kind of reflection questions that I thought, you know, that might touch them in some way. You know, it was just, you know, let's hurry up and khalas, I finished the teacher, you know, they just saw it as something to complete so that they could just get their grade or whatever. So I wanted to find a way so they could connect with the text. So, but that brings me to this quote here by Edmund Burke. He says that reading without reflection is like eating without digesting. So that's pretty much what my students were doing. They could read pretty quickly, and they would just burn through all the full stops. You know, just the full stops are not there, and they could say what was on the page, but I don't think they were really understanding it. And if you're not really understanding what you're reading, then there's no way you can reflect on it. So I had to find a way to get them to reflect on what they're reading. So I noticed one time when I was while I was doing this research, I noticed that how Emiratis behave when they're in Starbucks. Now, usually what they do is there's some conversation, a little bit of conversation at the beginning when they're ordering their drinks, but then they go to the table and the phones come out. Well, the phones are always in hand, you know that. The phones come out, and then everyone they're all together, but they're not talking to each other. But occasionally they will say, hey, check this out. Let's see what's on my phone. You know, and they would laugh about it, or they would have a little conversation, then, you know, right back to the phone. So I thought, okay, what if we could take that naturally occurring phenomenon and put it into the reading classroom. So that's kind of where I was able to see how this idea of a BookSnap could work for a reading class. Okay, so let me show you how I used to connect to a text, and I'm sure that most of y'all could relate to this as well. This is like the old school way of reflecting and annotating a text. So most of you, if you've done a master's degree or any kind of undergraduate degree where you had to do research, you probably had lots of papers that look like this. Yeah, this shows that you were having an intellectual conversation with the text. You were trying to engage with it. And I was told that the more that I can connect personally to a text that I'm reading, the more relevant it will become, the easier it will be for me to remember. So I took this on board, and I even did this like when I'm reading novels for pleasure or whatever. And so it's a really interesting way to make these kind of connections. So I wanted my students to be able to do this, but there's no way, and you know what, they would ever do this to a text. You know, I don't know why exactly it is like that in this culture, but maybe it's respect for the books. You know, you want to keep the book perfect, or you want to keep the paper perfect, but they have no problem doing it online, especially with Snapchat. So let me tell you what exactly is a BookSnap. Okay, so what fudge is BookSnap? Well, a BookSnap is a visual and digital representation of a personal connection to a text. It involves using I don't know, how, are you, any of y'all on Snapchat? Anybody? No? Okay, well. If you're on Instagram, I think a lot of y'all are on Instagram. I've seen a lot of teachers on Instagram too. But what you do is you create a textual annotation of the text that you read, and you use stickers, emojis, and bitmojis, and GIFs, and drawings. And there's all these different kind of options you can do. Like especially if you're on Instagram, you can do that in stories. But in Snapchat, it's all about the stories. So you can take a little video clip, and you can add, you can add all these different things to it to make it look funny, or to get people's attention, or to show an emotional reaction, or whatever. So that's basically what you do with a BookSnap. And because you're doing it on social media, you can save it as a picture, or you can save it as a video, and then you can share it on multiple platforms. So what this does for you as a teacher, if you do this, is it helps you to connect with student reasoning. Often, when I'm reading student essays, I have this, I think, what are you thinking? Or what were you thinking? And I have no idea what the student was thinking or trying to say. So with this kind of visual map for me, I can see like, okay, so this student connected to this part of the text on this emotional level because it brought back an old memory or whatever. So it's a way for students to sort of document their thought process, and for us to see how they got there. So maybe that's too much talk, but I'll just show you what one looks like. So that maybe that will help to make it come alive for you. But before we do that, I just wanted to say that this is sort of the modern version of what we did when we were studying, or a lot of us probably did. But it gives the students a chance to talk about a text. I think a lot of times students, maybe they want to talk about a text, but they don't really have a way to do that. So this is this app, Snapchat, allows them, it's sort of like a bridge between it helps them to bridge that gap in their language. Because if the language fails them, they can say, hey, look, just look at the snap. This is what I did. And then the students can ask questions like, okay, so why did you put that emoji? Or why is this bigger than that? Or, so I actually did this in my classes, and they really, I don't know if it was the novelty of the teacher asking them to use Snapchat in class, but they were engaged with the activity, and they seemed to be able to, they showed me a few things on Snapchat too. So yeah. All right, so let me show you what a Snapchat looks like, or it's not a Snapchat, but a BookSnap, sorry. So this is a BookSnap from Catcher in the Rye. It's got all the different parts that I think make it worthwhile for us as educators. It's got the reader's personal reflection on this character, Holden. They highlighted the text where she got this idea from. And then there's also an emotional reaction with the emojis. And then she used, I think that's a sticker. She's typed in lies. And so it's a visual representation of how she feels about this one character in the book. And it will make it real easy for her to talk about this with her friends. She could say, okay, so this is this guy. And it makes that conversation that I think we want our students to have much easier for them. Okay, so here's a few more examples. This second one here with the Bitmoji cooking. This was from one of my students when I was teaching a workshop on how to use Snapchat to improve your language learning ability. So I gave them a text about 15 minutes already. Oh, okay, I better hurry this up. All right, so this is a reading about signs you might be addicted to Snapchat. And this one particular part that she identified with was this one. She has to snap. She has to take a picture of every single meal she has, and she's pretty happy about it. She doesn't see that there's any kind of that's a problem. Being addicted to Snapchat is normal. Being addicted to social media is normal in this particular country. It seems to be no shame about it. So. In this second one here, or this one right here, is also from the same text. It's about how this particular student, the first thing she does in the morning, she opens up her Snapchat to see if there's any messages. If there are, She feels great. She feels like a star. You can see that little bit emoji she used down there. And then if there's no messages, she feels like, you know, something's going on, something's way off here. All right, and so you can also do this with, how do I go next? There we go. You can also make something called a math snap if you teach math. And I won't pretend to be able to understand this or explain this to you, but you get the idea that you can use Snapchat as a way to get students to explain what the concept is. So the same, get them to connect with the material. I think that's something that's really missing for most of our students. You know, they see education as a way to get the degree, and that's it. You know, but I'm not saying that all students see it that way, but this is a way for them to get to connect to it on a personal level. I think that education should be a very personal experience. You know, I always tell my students, take your education very personally. You know, because this is all about you. You know, you're trying to become a better version of yourself. All right, so what I want you all to do, this is how to make a book snap. I'll just play this video here. I don't know if you've ever, if you're actually interested in doing this. If you are interested in doing this, you can just play this video for your students. They'll get the idea. It'll be very clear, and then they'll show you probably some new features. So this is actually how to do it. It's really simple. You just take a picture, and then you add stuff to it, basically. But I'll play the video for you. Oops, how do I go back? Play. There we go.
Okay, so we're going to get started. So the first thing you do is open your Snapchat.
Can y'all hear that?
Find the quote that you want to take a picture of and simply take a picture of it. I usually try to make the quote somewhere in the middle of the page. It's easier to see when you post it on Twitter if you do that. So then from here, I typically do my quote first. So we're going to go to the T and type in our quote. The author here, and I typically hashtag the book. So for this one, it's TLAB. So then you can move that around. Should you want to change the text, you could press the T again, make it bigger. You can also right here change its color. If you're on the T, you can change its color. By pressing the T. Now I'm going to show you how to add images. There are lots of different things. If you want to add your own Bitmoji, go to bitmoji.com and set up your own Bitmoji. And when you scroll over like this, it would ask you to see. But should you choose not to use a Bitmoji, you just scroll over and you will see lots of stickers and also just the emojis that you normally use on your text. So typically what I do here is I just type in a search. So I'm going to type in thumbs up. And then I'm going to use my Bitmoji for this thumbs up. To make it larger or bigger, you just simply type in world or earth. Just find it the emoji. Then you can write. So say you wanted to write yes. And maybe you want to draw an arrow. You can use the pencil here and you can change the colors there. All right, so say you have your BookSnap created, you love it. You're going to do two things. The first thing you want to do is save it to your camera roll, and the bracket with the arrow above it is going to save it to your camera roll. And then you also want to save it to your story because those that are following you on Snapchat want to see it here on your story. So you're going to press the plus, and it's going to save it right here on your story anytime. But I'm going to show you a little bit what you can do with your own story. You can click these three dots here. It's going to show you all the book snaps you currently have in your story. I'm going to click the same save icon with the arrow and the bracket. And when I do that, I'm going to save all of these book snaps as a video on my camera roll. It's like your book snap story in 10-second slides. So you're going to click yes. Now what that does when we save them to our camera roll, it allows us and students to also upload these images to their Twitter classroom or Seesaw or Google Classroom. If you have any questions, feel free to comment below or look me up at Tara Martin EDU on Twitter. Thanks.
Okay. All right, so what we're gonna do now, that was, that concludes that part of it. So we only have about 10 minutes left. So what I wanna do, I'm gonna share with you a poem, and I'd like for you to take a picture of, I'll read the poem first, then take a picture of it. And then if you have, if you're on Instagram or you have Snapchat, I'd like you to go through and do the same kind of process that she just showed you. Yeah, you take a picture of it, you record your own personal reflection, like you write something like how you felt about that part of the poem or what you think about the poem in general, and then use some bitmojis or emojis to show your emotional reaction to it. And then if someone would like to, you could share your what you've done with the rest of us. Okay, so let me escape here. I'll share the poem with you. All right. And this is a poem about Snapchat. Surprising, there are plenty of them out there. Okay, can everyone see? Everyone can see that? Let's see. This one's called Snapchat Sisters. Is that big enough?
No, we don't see it.
Oh, you don't see it? Okay. All right. Let's see. How can I share it with you? Okay, just close this one. Okay. Technical difficulties. Has this ever happened to y'all when you were teaching remotely? Any kind of technical difficulties? Where'd it go? How do I do it? Zoom. Okay. Here we go. No, I don't want to join a meeting. I'm in a meeting. Well, hell.
Try to stop sharing and look for the other screen.
Okay, stop sharing. Okay. How do I do that?
Up at the top, hover around up at the top of your screen. It will say stop sharing.
Okay, Zoom.
No, don't go.
Okay, there we go. I see it. Yes. Okay. Okay, I see it. Okay, so meeting. No. View. No, uninstall Zoom. No, quit Zoom. No.
Hover at the top.
Stop share. Okay, there we go. Stop share. Okay. There we go. Okay. Woo. I was sweating there. Okay. How about that? Can you see it now?
No.
No? Okay. Well, shoot. Okay. Zoom. Share. Start share. Okay. Here we go. Yeah? Success?
Yeah, we see it now.
Okay. Alhamdulillah. All right, there you go. So read the poem, take a picture of a line you like, or you can just take a picture of the whole thing, and then go through the process. Yeah, write a little reflection using the T. It's the same icon that you use on Instagram as you use on Snapchat. And then some emojis, some bitmojis, like what do you think about it? How do you feel? Okay, so I'll give you guys like, can you do it in 2 minutes? Because I only have about 5 minutes left. Let's say 2 minutes, okay.
I'm about to decorate this quickly for me.
Yeah, so it's a lot of pressure, yeah. Like, students can do it very quickly. They're like Snapchat geniuses. Does someone have something they'd like to? Oh.
Here, annotate that a bit.
Okay. Yeah. You ready? Is someone ready to share something?
An emoji.
Okay, Melanie.
Just a
Oh,
second.
okay.
I have a millennial helping me.
Yeah, sweet. Thank you.
Okay, that's great. Okay.
Okay.
How do I do that? How do I send it to my account? How do I show it here? My story?
Mm-hmm. Or you could just hold it up to the camera for us to see. Save it to the camera roll.
Okay.
Okay. Melanie, could you show us what you've done? A little bit closer. Tell us.
Oh, it's not doing it. Where'd it go?
I think it's on your camera roll.
Okay, I got it.
Okay. Okay. So you took a shot of it, yeah. And what part of it, of the poem, did you
Oh,
connect?
I connected with the part that said showing off your nails and your hair.
Okay. Have you done that before?
Well,
Or you-
I cut my nails when I was on silent, yeah. When I was. But you know what, Baxter? I can see that students would love this and they would love doing it. I think it's a fantastic idea.
Yeah, I wish it was my idea, but it does work. I've done it before, and I think what the real benefit of this is that it gives them a way to talk about something they normally wouldn't talk about, and it also extends the audience so that it's not just about I got to get the right answer for the teacher. It's about this is something I'm reading, and look, everybody, this is what I think about it. What do you think about it? You know, so it's a way to extend the conversation. And it sort of replicates how they normally interact socially anyways. You know, you put a group of Emiratis together in a circle. After a few minutes, they're all going to go to their phones, and then it'll just be an occasional, you know, someone talking to someone else about something they saw on their phone. So why not do that in the classroom too, and bring in hopefully some reflection to their reading, which I think is something that's sort of
Have your students read? Do they have to read? You mentioned, what book did you mention earlier? Ernest Hemingway book or John Steinbeck?
Catcher in the Rye. That was an example from Tara Martin. She's the one who came up with this idea. I have my students do it with any kind of reading, any kind of reading that I think, like for example, I did it in the EAP class. They had to do a reading about the Silk Road. So I asked them to try to connect on some kind of personal level with something in it. You know, like maybe you want to go to one of these countries in the Silk Road, or maybe you like gold because they mentioned gold in it. And then they would take a picture of it, and then they would create a BookSnap based on whatever reading I'm doing. It's just a good way to kind of break up a reading lesson and to get them sort of thinking on a more personal
Now, how can they share it with
relates
you?
to their life.
Like if you have 30 students in a class, are you following them all on Snapchat chat, or do you ask them to take a picture of it and submit it to you somewhere? How do you make it as a shared experience?
Right. So once they have it on their camera roll, they can share it anywhere. They can share it if you have a Google Classroom, they can put it on there. If you're on Blackboard, they can put it in a Blackboard discussion. They can put it anywhere. But what I did is I followed them, and then I asked them to do something with Snapchat every day and to save it and put it into like a video, into their story, and then send me the whole complete story like for a week. Like show me what you did this week. You know, I want you to say something in English. I want you to read something in English, and I want you to document it using Snapchat. And then so that was the whole idea of the workshop I did on how to use Snapchat for language improvement.
And how do you find that the students respond to it? What percentage of students actively participate and are interested? 100%, 85%?
Yeah, most of them did. It was this was an optional class that was on Thursday afternoon. They had to go to the class, but it wasn't for a mark. So most of the students who showed up and actively participated.
And what was the total number of students?
It was a pretty big class. It started off like 45, or no, it was in the 30s, and then it kind of, you know how it goes, it kind of petered off a bit. But yeah, they were engaged and they were doing it because it's something they do anyways. You know, when they want to relax, what do? They go right to the social media. You know, so it's just a way to, I don't know. I think language learning is really important to like integrate it into your routine. So maybe this is a way for them to do that. You know? They're going to be on Snapchat anyway, so why not, you know, sneak some English in there while we can, you know.
Okay, Drew, thank you. Does anyone else have any questions? We have a couple more minutes. Anyone want to share? Okay, no, thank you very much. I thought it was really fascinating.
Thanks for having me. It was good to share with you guys. And hope everyone enjoys the rest of the virtual convention.